So I thought I would, oh my gosh, I'm so phlegmy today. I'm so sorry. Wow. It's when you sing all morning without having drunk enough water. Wow. Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I have some sheet music that I need to stick today for tomorrow, so I thought I would take the opportunity to film a quick tutorial on how to stick your sheet music in the industry standard way in the UK for when you have auditions or if you're going to classes and workshops, and if you have no idea that there was a way that you prepare your sheet music that is kind of the industry standard. So I'm gonna show you how I stick my sheet music, and then at the end of this video I'm going to talk a little bit about why we do what we do in terms of sticking our sheet music in a certain way, just in case you find that interesting and helpful to know what the method in the madness is. So that's what this video is going to be. I hope you enjoy and find it helpful. Before I change the camera angle so you can see what I'm doing, let's start off with what you need to prepare your sheet music. So the first thing you need is your sheet music, obviously, and this should be on A4 paper, printed or photocopied single-sided. So obviously one piece of music per side. I don't know why I explained that. I'm sure most of you know what single-sided means. You'll also need some sellotape. Just clear, normal, bog standard sellotape. Doesn't even have to be brand sellotape. I don't know what you'd call non-branded sellotape. And if you don't have one of these where you've got the holder where you can cut or rip off the sellotape, you'll also need something to cut your sellotape. So scissors. If you're strapped for time and resources, I guess your teeth would do. But yeah, something to cut your sellotape. The last thing you need, which you will see in a second, is a hard flat surface. So I'm using my coffee table, but this can be a dining table, it can be a hardwood floor. It doesn't matter what it is, just it needs to be hard and it needs to be flat so that when you're sticking your sheets of paper together, it's not warping because you're on carpet or something. That is all you need. And for those of you who find it helpful to see what we're aiming for, what we want is, this is one I literally made earlier, is we're wanting to stick our music so it makes a concertina. So if I take the first page of this particular song and the last page, see how it all folds out kind of like an accordion? That's what we're aiming for. So we're going to be sticking our pieces of sheet music long edge to long edge so that they can fold out like this. Let me change the camera angle and get to sticking the second piece of music, and I'll talk you through what I'm doing. Say goodbye to my face. Okay, so here's my sheet music that I want to stick. I've got my sellotape and I'm on a flat surface. So the first thing that we want to do is take our sheet music and make sure that it's in order. So we've got page 1, 2, page 3, page 4, and page 5. Lovely. What we're going to be doing is we're going to stick our music so we're reading it left to right. I know this is going to be mirrored because of camera things, but the same direction that you read in English, left to right, we're going to be sticking left to right. So every new page is going to be stuck onto the right side of the old page. If you've got enough room, at this point you might want to put all of your pages out in order side by side. If you don't have room, like I don't have room because of the size of my table and also filming, you can just pile all of your sheet music in order on one side and then take the first 2 pages. There's lots of different ways that you can actually physically tape. Some people will do just tabs. Some people will tape the whole length. Some people will tape both sides, so on the front and the back. There's no real right or wrong way, as long as your sheet music is in line and straight, and once it's stuck, it folds neatly. What I like to do is only stick on one side, and I stick on the side opposite to how it folds. So this is page 1, it's got the title of the song, so this is the first page. I want that to fold out so that when I put my sheet music in my folder, it's on the top. So this edge of the music is facing out, which is on the front side of both pieces of paper. So I want to stick my sellotape on the back side. I hope that makes sense. If that was confusing, and you want to just stick on one side, just remember that you start off sticking on the back side, then the front side, back side, front side, back side, front side, if that's easier for you. I want to stick on the back side of this because I'm only sticking on one side. So I'm going to take the top of my sheet music and I'm going to turn it over towards me. The way I like to do it is I like to do 2 tabs, one at the top and one at the bottom, and then do a long strip in between them. So I'm just going to get my tabs ready and stick them on the edge of the table. The pieces of paper don't have to be touching. They just need to be straight and in line. So I'm gonna put one tab just there. And then one tab there. See? Okay, and then I didn't stick that as perfectly as I would like. I think there must have been some air underneath, so it's not like completely straight. As you can, I don't know if you can see this, but you can see how that's kind of coming up. But when I turn my sheet music and I fold it, it folds fine. So like, is it perfect? No, but it's still functional, so that's fine. So we're going to keep going. So the reason I prefer doing the 2 tabs method rather than just getting one long strip and doing it straight, if you're doing it straight and either you nudge the paper or there's a gust of wind and that moves the paper, it can go very wrong very quickly. I find by using tabs, I can get the sheet music lined up so that even if something does go wrong, like in that last one, it wasn't completely straight, it's not going to be so bad that I'm probably going to have to start it again. And if something does go wrong whilst I'm doing the tabs, it's a smaller piece of sellotape that I have to try and rearrange. And it's less likely that anything that happens to the paper whilst I'm trying to rearrange it is going to like massively impact the actual sheet music. So because the first page was stuck on the back, I'm now sticking this one on the front. When I'm sticking the long piece, I kind of go from one end to the other. Wow. The one I stuck before was so much better than this, so yeah. You're seeing an imperfect one here, but that's fine. It doesn't matter if there's bulges on the sellotape, by the way. If, like me, you're running out of space, you can start folding over the pages you've already done. As long as the 2 pages that you're sticking together, there's nothing underneath them, or at the very least underneath where you're sticking. This one was stuck on the front, so now I'm gonna turn these over so I can stick on the back. The one downside of only sticking on one side, which you'll probably see in a second, is that obviously the side where the sellotape isn't, because there's a gap in the paper, that bit is sticky. I just deal with it, and then after a while the stickiness goes because dust gets in there, or like, you know, you've putting it in a folder, and so it's constantly sticking to stuff and loses its stick. So I just live with that. If you don't, oh, flip. It's what happens when you're trying to stick and talk at the same time. There we go. See, but I was able to fix it with just the little tab, whereas if I had a whole long strip of sellotape, that could have been an absolute disaster, but it wasn't. If you don't like the idea of having like sticky bits, then you can just tape on both sides. The reason I don't tape on both sides is because when you've got the 2 lots of sellotape on both sides, it's quite thick. I personally have had issues in the past when I was training of the music, it not being as malleable for the pianist and how they needed to arrange the sheet music. So I just decided to only stick on one side. Obviously, if that doesn't bother you, or you don't find that you have that issue with some of your pianists, kind of from experience, you don't have to stick on just one side, you can stick on both. And the reason that I don't stick just tabs, I do still have the long strip, is I just think it's more durable, it feels more secure to me. So you can just find your own way of how you prefer to stick your music, as long as it is in the right order and it folds into that concertina. The particulars can be up to you and your preference. I'm sure there are also ways that pianists prefer music to be stuck, but I also imagine that that varies by personal preference in the same way the way you want to stick your music will vary by personal preference. So if you know pianists, then you can ask them if they have preferences, but I wouldn't worry too much about it as long as it's legible. So there's our concertina, and then it all folds out. That's how to stick your sheet music. I hope that was clear. And yeah, let's have a quick chat about why we go through all this trouble. You may be wondering, if not, then I hope that was helpful, see ya. But you may be wondering why we do that when we may have music that can be on a tablet, or we might have our music in a book, and so we've got to go through the faff of photocopying it. Or maybe we just can't be bothered to stick all of our sheet music. Maybe the song we have is like 16 pages long, like that's gonna be a lot, right? So yeah, let's talk about it. So the first thing is if you have your sheet music in a book. I've just bought one of my vocal selections, it's Broadway songs. If I open up this book, I'm trying to keep it flat, but can you see how much that page is bowing? If this was on a piece of, I mean, you saw it right there. If it's up on a music stand, on a keyboard or a piano, it just closes by itself. It doesn't stay open. In Auditions, the accompanist doesn't have a page turner to keep the book open. And whilst on pianos, on piano music stands, they'll have those little pegs that can keep books open on the music stand. You still need a page turner if you're going to use those, because you have to kind of maneuver is the word I'm looking for. Maneuver the pages around those pegs in order to turn the page effectively. But also in a lot of auditions, you won't have a piano, you'll have your accompanist playing a keyboard, and a lot of the time keyboard music stands don't have those pegs. So there's no way to keep a book open necessarily. If a song is in the middle, you might be fine in terms of the book staying open, but if it's towards the beginning or the end, the book is going to close on itself most likely. All of the vocal selections I've got are bound in that way where they don't lie flat. Like they're not designed to open and lie flat. They're just whatever this kind of book binding is where it doesn't lie flat. Can you tell I don't know much about book binding? The other thing is that even if you do pick a song from the middle, because it's not lying flat, if the music's on the stand, I don't know if you can see this, but can you see the end of the stave, the bits of music is kind of going into the dip? Obviously, I've opened this book basically right in the middle to show this. Again, if it's a song particularly towards the beginning or towards the end, the way that the sheet music is dipping into the crease of where the two pages meet is going to be more pronounced. If you're a pianist trying to sight read this music for the first time and you cannot see maybe the last half a bar, depending on how it's printed, maybe even the last bar of a measure of music easily, that's going to be really difficult for them to read. And you want to give your pianist as easy a time to read your music as possible, because the better they play, the better performance you can give, because you're not getting put off by them missing anything, right? So that's why books are not ideal in audition scenarios. The other thing that you might want to take would be your sheet music in a folder. This is just my folder that has my kind of immediate rep in it. Firstly, you have the same problem, which you might have just seen, of if I try and open my folder, it just shuts on itself again. Even if I do like a few pages, it just shuts on itself. So that's the same problem as with the book. Secondly, these pockets are plastic, as you can see. And I don't know if you can see the reflection, you can see that shine there. If the light hits the folder in just the right or wrong way, that reflection and that shine could make it really difficult for the pianist to actually see what they are playing. And again, you don't want the pianist to be hindered in actually being able to read the music, because you want them to play well. The other thing about folders like this is that oftentimes if a pianist has a very quick page turn, for example, and again, in an audition, your accompanist will not have someone to turn the pages for them. They will have to turn the pages themselves. So often what pianists will do is they'll just fold the corner of the sheet music like this to make a little tab so they can quickly turn the page. They can just grab the tab and flip it. With these, because you've got the plastic, it's a lot harder to make that tab. And so if there are quick page turns, the pianist might find it harder to do those page turns if the music is in a folder like this versus if it's paper like this, where the paper can easily be folded and creased and there's a lot more friction. That's why having your music just in a folder isn't ideal either. The last thing I want to touch on is tablets, kind of taking in an electronic tablet and giving that to your pianist to read. I'll be honest, I graduated before use of tablets for reading and playing music was as prevalent as it is today. There are a lot of, especially like in rehearsals and stuff, people using sheet music on tablets as opposed to, you know, printed physical sheet music. I don't know if there is kind of an industry stance on you bringing your own tablet to an audition versus bringing prepared sheet music like this, like physical sheet music. My own opinion is that electronic devices have a lot more points of failure. I'll just give an example. Let's just say you have been killing time in a cafe because you're early to your audition and you're going through your sheet music and you get knocked and you spill your coffee all over your music. This is a physical copy. It is unlikely that the coffee spill is so bad that this will be completely illegible. Yes, obviously it will be wet. You'll have to go into the toilet and like dry it under the hand dryer or something, and it will be stained brown from the coffee, and you'll have to be like, I'm really sorry, I spilt coffee right before this audition. I'm really, really sorry. And if the panel has any humanity or humor, they'll be understanding and sympathetic, right? You could get this into a state where it's readable and you still have the music. Is it ideal? No, but you could make it work. In contrast, if you were to spill that coffee on your tablet in such a way that the tablet just completely gets fried, you then have no music, right? You have nothing that you can give to your pianist. So I guess you'd have to go in and either hope that they just know the song from memory roughly that you wanted to sing, or you'll have to sing a cappella. The other thing is that it wouldn't leave a good impression either. I mean, having a coffee stained sheet of music also doesn't, but at least you can explain what happened, right? And you can still do the audition. And that's just one example of something that could go wrong. Kind of more obvious things would be things like if you thought your tablet had charged overnight, but then it actually didn't, and by the time you get to your audition, the battery's dead, or it dies partway through your audition. If partway through the audition, the tablet decides to lock itself, and then your pianist halfway through your piece can't unlock your tablet to see the rest of the music because they don't have the password. If it just freezes, or it decides to update like mid-audition or just before your audition, and it's gonna take like 20 minutes. There's so many things that can be a hindrance with electronic devices that just with having the physical sheet music is not going to be as much of an issue. I will say that I have had an audition before where instead of asking us to bring physical sheet music, they asked us to send electronic copies of the sheet music for the accompanist to play off of their own tablet. So that is something I've been asked to do before. But in terms of taking your own tablet, for me personally, I just think physical music is just safer. Like, if you've got the physical music, aside from this catching on fire, at which point you've probably got bigger problems if you're in a situation where your sheet music is burning, there's not really a lot that can go wrong in terms of will they be able to read my sheet music. What I will say, because I feel like for a lot of people, though, wanting to use a tablet may be coming from a want to save paper, which is completely understandable. Like, having to print everything off single-sided just to stick it is, you know, that is a lot of paper. And this goes for any of these methods, the tablet method, or having your music in a folder, or having your music in a book. For things like private lessons, like with a singing teacher, these methods are a lot easier to get around. You know, you have more time. Efficiency isn't necessarily the main issue. So if you're wanting to save paper, more so for the tablet and the book, obviously if you've got your sheet music printed in a folder, then you can just stick it if you want to. If you're not sure about whether or not you want a song to be a part of your rep, something you're going to take to auditions, then by all means take songs to lessons, or as you're learning songs, do it from a book or from the electronic copy to save paper. And then when you get to a point with a song that you have decided that it's definitely going to go in your rep, that you're gonna want to take it to auditions, then print it and stick it. And the great thing about this is that once you've done that, as long as you don't lose it or it gets destroyed in a fire or flooding, or it, you know, the dog rips it up or whatever, this will last for your whole career. You'll never have to print this off and stick it again. And then the last thing I'll say in terms of environmental impact, in terms of like what kind of paper you print on. I've heard before, I think it was like early in my career, I can't remember if it was a teacher or in a book, that ideally the paper that you print on should be like a thicker, like higher quality paper. So it's kind of more, it's a bit stiffer, it's not as flimsy. This is just normal printer paper. It works fine. Maybe it would be a better experience for the pianist if you're using like really fancy paper that's like a little bit thicker. But if you don't have access to that, then normal printer paper is fine. So if you're worried about the environmental impact, you could always use recycled paper, as long as it's the same thickness and kind of, I don't know, paper grade as normal kind of printer paper, then it should be fine as well. So yeah, that is how to prepare your sheet music for audition. I hope you found this helpful. If you did, please consider liking and subscribing. Would love to have you on the channel. Come on down. Stay tuned for more theatre content from a UK perspective, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye friends!